Is this what your hair looks like when you get out of the shower? Is it short and curly and maybe wavy? And perhaps you've wanted to try a different kind of style, like with straight hair, and you've always wondered how you could do that. Or maybe you've always wanted to try a look that's more like this. Well, I found a way that works pretty well for short wavy hair, and I'm going to show you how it works. The first tool that you're going to need is a good hair dryer. And this is not just any particular brand thing, but it's more the particular technology that's used. So this is a Conair 1875, and what's special about it is that it uses a ceramic core for its heating element. It uses something called tourmaline. When I first heard about this, I thought it was just hype, but in fact, it's extremely effective at actually helping relax your hair before you get to the next step. I tend to use it at the highest heat setting, and I don't use any of the attachments. I just go directly to go under my hair and on top of my hair, and you'll see me as I move around the different parts of my hair. I get under all the different parts of my hair. Now that my hair is thoroughly dried, you can see that it's definitely still got a lot of wave and curl to it, and I can kind of pat that down a little bit. But as you well know, if you have hair like this, is that if I just let it dry, it'll curl into this kind of swoosh kind of thing, and it'll all curl together and it'll look terrible. Unless that's the look you're going for, which is fine, but that's not what I want, and it may not be what you want. So your hair is dry now, and it's kind of relaxed, but the next step is to actually straighten it. Most of you probably know or have heard of such a thing as a straightening iron. I'm using the Remington Wet to Straight here, which works on wet or dry hair, though I'd recommend using it on dry for short hair. So the thing about these is if you've tried it before, it can be very challenging to use on short hair because these elements get extremely hot, and if you put it up right up to your scalp, it'll burn not only your scalp, but it'll burn your fingers. You're trying to hold the hair up. So not burning your scalp is a matter of holding the iron in the right place, but not burning your fingers is much tougher because your hair gets very hot when you're using this iron. So you might think that the extremely small irons are actually better, but in fact they're terrible. They're small, they don't heat up very much, and they just don't work very well. You want to use the big iron with at least 1-inch blades like this one, but the challenge is then how to use it. So that's where the next tool comes in, a pair of heat-resistant gloves. These are just gloves that I got from the local drugstore. They use nitrile so they don't melt, but leather gloves also work very well. You want them to be gloves that form-fit your hands, and these have nice grips so I can actually grip my hair and the iron and manipulate those with the gloves on. The other thing I would recommend is getting a heat-proof bag. This one is by John Frieda, and it's very simple. Basically, the idea is that once you're done with the iron, you just put it inside here, which is great. Not only if you're traveling, but even at home, these blades get very hot. You don't want to damage your countertop or your sink or something like that. So it's always good to use the heat-proof bag. Put the iron in the heat-proof bag when you're done. So let's plug in the iron and get started. Okay, now the way I'm going to approach the straightening process is I'm going to start with the very front, and I'm going to move towards the back. And I'm going to go through multiple passes over each part and kind of overlapping. And you'll kind of see what happens as we start, and then you can kind of go from there. I mean, everybody's hair is a little bit different, so your process will be different from mine. So you want to take a nice slow passage up because you have to heat all the hair that's in there. And notice how I'm going right to the scalp, right to the scalp, right to the scalp. And keep doing this. You want to make sure you get all the hair that you want to have kind of like in that straight mode. And sometimes you'll have to deal with different levels of shortness. So one thing is that even though I have the gloves on and they protect me from getting burned by the hair, the gloves do get hot, and do give your hands a break every once in a while so that you don't overheat them. It's important to keep your hands safe in this process. It wouldn't be too great if you had straight hair but burned up hands. Here we go, getting at the back, the short bits of hair. It's a bit uncomfortable to get these back ones, but it doesn't take that long. Okay, now I'm gonna do a final pass, quick pass on the very front set of hair here, and that's it. Okay, so now we've got the hair pretty straight, and the next part of the process is styling. And I kind of like it how it is right now, but the thing is it's not going to stay like this because my hair is naturally wavy or a bit curly. So depending on what kind of thing you want, there's lots of different options for products. I'm going to start with a layer of this stuff, which is Label M's matte paste. It's a fantastic product. You need a very, very tiny bit, like smaller than a pea-sized portion. It just adds a bit of roughness. You really have to, it's very, very sticky. You need to really smooth it out in your hands and just kind of rub it through the top of your hair. And you start getting some good texture into the overall look. Again, this depends on what you're trying to do with your hair. So this is getting close to how I want it to be. I've got the right kind of shape, and I've got pretty much all my hairs in place. The next product to use here, I would recommend, is hairspray. So I use this stuff, this frizzy stuff, also from John Frieda. You have to be very sparing in how you use hairspray. And the key, if you have really curly or wavy hair like me, is to get the ends. And this takes a little bit of practice, but what you want to do is you want to close your eyes and be able to make sure the spray at least hits the ends. As well as the rest of your style that you want to preserve. But this is really important to keeping it straight and not getting the ends to curl during the day. So here we go. That was probably a bit more than I needed, but today is a bit hot, and I think it will probably help keep things in place. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute and then let you see what it looks like when it dries. Okay, so a couple minutes have passed and it's fairly dry. And what I like to do is once the hairspray is dried, I can still, you can manipulate it a little bit. I don't want to have the complete stiff look that the hairspray creates, so you can kind of, mess it up a little bit. And the hairspray is going to keep the straightness, but you can kind of play around with kind of placement and what the overall texture looks like to kind of just give it a little bit more naturalness. So here we go, here's the finished product. It's not perfect because I had to do it while not really looking at the mirror. I was trying to look at you, my audience, while I was doing it. But I think you get the idea of the overall technique, and I hope this might be useful to you in whatever styles you find best for your hair. So if you find this video useful, please let me know with a comment. I'd love to hear from you and know what worked and didn't work for you.